A warm welcome to everyone. I want to talk to you about how to organize your speech. Now, when we give a speech, write an essay, even write an answer in an examination, or write an academic paper, we must start with an overview. Now, I will justify that by showing how Google Earth will navigate you to a landmark, maybe in United States. For example, let's say that we start from some place in Monato University and we want to search for United States Capitol building. Now you see it first of all shows the whole globe and zooms on the building later on, the globe, the North America, then Washington DC, and then afterwards this US Capitol building. Now this provides us the overview required to comprehend where this building is in the whole wide world. Now, this aspect is important when we make speeches or write an answer or write an academic paper. But this is only one aspect that we need to keep in mind when we make a speech. The three parts of a speech or an essay are the opening, the body, and the conclusion. Now, the opening is where we provide the overview to our speech, like how Google Earth showed the whole globe when we wanted to zero in on one topic, like one landmark. Then, in the body of our speech, we take each point that we described in the opening and provide arguments to establish that point. In the conclusion, in retrospect of the points that we provided in the body, with a summary and a take-home message, we conclude. Now we will look at each of these aspects so that we can prepare a great speech script leading to a very entertaining and very informative speech. Okay, now this is a picture of the hourglass. Now the hourglass does not represent that time is running out, but it represents the general, broad, to specific, narrow, to general flow of a speech. Now, this is yet another view of what I wanted to show using Google Earth. That means, first of all, we give a broad perspective and we narrow down onto the specific points that we want to give, especially in the body. So, once again, we broaden out in our conclusion. I hope that these metaphors of the globe and the hourglass would be helpful for you to remember general to specific to general structure that we must have in our speech. Now, when you want to write a speech, first of all, you have to select a great topic. So you select a great topic matching a specific criteria. That criteria is among the topics that you know about and among the topics that you love to talk about, pick a topic that your audience would fall in love. So this very intersection is where the speech must be targeted at. And then we must make an outline. So making the outline is not something new. I think even in our high school, when we wanted to write, for example, a composition, we first of all started with an outline. So we develop the opening, we draft the body, and then draft the conclusion. So this outline should first of all have the opening, then in the body we can have maybe 1, 2, 3 points, and then finally the conclusion. This is our outline or the sketch, and to justify the theme that we had in our speech or the thesis of our speech, we can pick 3 arguments. This is especially important to limit to 3 arguments because your speeches are just 4-minute speeches. If you go for a longer standard speech of 7 minutes, Then you can choose to have about 5 points in your body. Okay. Now, when you make the outline, assemble your ideas logically. Now, there must be a logical sequence in the 3 points that you mention in your body. Even if you take 1 point in the body, actually that amounts to 1 paragraph, there must be a logical sequence of ideas. I will show you some examples of this, and then typical sequences that you can follow when you prepare your speeches. All right. So first type of sequence is the chronological sequence. That means according to the time. So for example, if you talk about the 50th anniversary of a department, then you can choose the chronological structure. In 1969, we started. In 2003, we moved to a new building, and so on, right? Now, if you want to describe some exhibition and how the exhibits are distributed within the floor, or if you want to describe the arrangement of a museum, then you can use the spatial sequence. Yeah. If you want to describe some cause and effect thing, or effect leading to a effect, starting with the effect, going to the cause, a kind of a speech, for example, about hurricanes, why hurricanes take place and so on, is a causal structure that we should select causal. Then other structures are there. If you want to present two proposals, you can take a comparative structure, then a topical structure. If you want to talk about how, for example, electronic club can serve the students and the community. And then if you want to talk about a problem and a solution, for example, how to solve the illiteracy problem by educating parents, you can take the problem solution sequence. So pick a sequence that is suitable for your speech topic. Okay, then once again we will go to the opening, body and conclusion structure. There we will look at the opening. Now in the opening, we must catch the audience's attention. So if you do not catch the audience's attention at once, then you lose the audience and you will never be able to get their attention back. So therefore, think about this very carefully. Maybe you can start with a startling question or a challenging statement, maybe an appropriate quotation from someone, a display of some object or a picture, and attention getting generalization can be good. So, for example, you can make a statement like, in the presence of ChatGPT's ability to generate text, what is the use of allowing students to write essays at home? So you see, that is an attention grabbing, startling question. Now people have something to think about that and they want to argue with you about that. So that catches the attention of the audience, and now audience is listening to you. So this first statement that you make in your opening is extremely important. So you have to carefully think about this and practice this so very much. All right. So we usually avoid an apologetic statement when we start a speech. For example, I'm very sorry for getting late. That's not good to good. That's not a good sentence to start a speech. Unrelated joke, a commonplace observation delivered in a commonplace manner, a long, slow-moving statement or a story. A tried question such as, "Did you ever stop to think?" Something like that. Okay, so carefully pick your opening sentence. Now let's look at the body. Now in the opening, after we pick up the sentence, we give an overview of what we are going to talk about in the body. Okay, the starting sentence, we looked at that starting sentence, and then you give a sort of a summary of what is to come in your body. Okay, so now let's look at the body. In the body, there must be a main part. That's the main part of the speech. Then 3 to 5 main ideas or facts. So we do not pick 5 ideas because your speeches are 4-minute speeches. So pick 3 ideas that you want to talk about in the body. And these 3 ideas must actually, you have the thesis statement of your speech, that is the very topic of your speech. Okay, you do not articulate the thesis statement, but let it be known to the audience. But these 3 points must prove your thesis. Yeah, so we will look at examples later on. So then if you think that you would forget these, as these are prepared speeches, you cannot keep the whole speech in your hand. You can have small note cards, maybe 3 cards with the idea written for each of these main ideas. And then each main topic you can go into subpoints. Okay. So this is the structure that we want to have: 3 main points and the subpoints and support material, subpoints and support material, and so on. Okay. So let's look at examples. For example, take the theme as benefits of eating fruits and vegetables. Okay. So let's take that we have 3 main points in our body, which we actually, in summary form, talk about in the opening. Let's say these points are: 1, eating fruits and vegetables provides nutrients for your body to function. Sorry, eating fruits and vegetables protects against the effects of aging, and eating fruits and vegetables reduces risk of cancer or heart disease. Okay, for example, now when you make this statement, all the ladies in the audience are paying quite a bit of attention to you. And then when you make this statement, all the men in the audience are paying attention to you. So anyways, so these are the 3 main points that should be there in a speech of benefits of eating fruits and vegetables. So in the body, you have to expand each of these into a paragraph, right? Each of these main points into a paragraph. Then you have to provide support material. So what are the nutrients? And what are the foods that have nutrients? Is there any other way to obtain those nutrients? And so on. You can make a few sentences to prove this main point in that paragraph. So for this also another set of points. For this also another set of points. Okay. Yeah. Let's take another example. Now think about the illiteracy of Sri Lanka. Assume that this is the theme of your speech. The thesis statement in this case would be illiteracy can only be solved through education. Assume that's the main point that you want to prove in your speech. So therefore, in the body, you pick 3 related points: the reasons for illiteracy, then vicious cycle of illiteracy, and solving illiteracy by education. These 3 points, you can see that these 3 points are very much interrelated. So that's why you have to pick the, that's how you have to pick the main points. Okay. So in this case, or in any other case, subpoints can include statistics. So when you have statistics, you can say, in an understandable manner. Do not say things like 35%, 35.54% of children. You can say 1/3 of children, which is much more comprehensible. If you take 3 children, one of them suffer from malnutrition or something like that. Then testimony. So that means something that has actually happened and someone is talking about it. That is testimony. You can use examples, stories, anecdotes. Maybe these are little stories with a punch. These anecdotes. Then you can show something. Those are called visual aids, and you can give facts. Okay. So let's take an example. Vegetables and fruits. Now, this is a fact. They contain carbohydrates, proteins, and fats the body uses to generate energy or build cells. You see, when you say something like this, people understand, okay, it is important to eat fruits and vegetables because they contain these things and they are required to build cells. See? So, like that, you presented a fact to establish the point that you want to say. Now take another example on illiteracy. According to the findings of Professor Chandra Gunawardena, one out of 4 children attribute absenteeism to economic reasons, but only 1 out of 6 parents do so. Although parents do not want to accept, children suffer due to the family economic situation. See how the point has been very well established in this case. So, what is this saying? 1 out of 4 children think that they did not come to class because of money reasons. But only 1 out of 6 parents think because it is because of money that the children are not sent to school. So therefore, the effect on children is larger than the effect on parents, right? So see how you prove these things in a speech. You have to very nicely articulate. So now this is presenting two statistics, and the way the statistics are presented also, you can see things like 1 out of 4. Yeah, 1 out of 4. It's easy to understand, right? 1 out of 6. Those things are easy to understand. Okay. Now, when you present these three main points, and when you present each sentence within one paragraph, you have to include transitions. So your speech must flow like a river beautifully. It must flow like a river. So unless it is flowing like a river, it's very difficult for people to comprehend what you're saying. So, what is the trick of letting the speech nicely flow? The trick is to use transition words. You use words like afterwards, also, but, consequently, consider, finally, instead, later, meanwhile, moreover, next, then, yet, and so on. Right? There can be many other words, and there can be phrases according to, as a result, for example, for instance. In addition, let's begin with, more importantly, this means, to illustrate. So when you use these phrases, people see the connection of what you're saying now to the previous things that you said. It's very important to have these connecting words and phrases or transition words and phrases in your speech. Not only in your speech, even in your writing. Okay. Um, you can include questions. We must consider three things in developing this new product. First is, second is, third is. So see how that is nice. And for example, to include a question itself, illiteracy is real, but why does it continue? So it's a question, right? So then people will start thinking with you. Okay. Now we talked about the opening and the body. So in the opening, we give a great starting statement and sort of give an overview of what is to come in the body. In the body, because these 4 minute speech, we speak about 3 points, and each of the points will amount to one paragraph. That means 3 paragraphs in the body. So in each of these paragraphs, we'll have the starting sentence that sort of says what that paragraph is, and then we have to prove that starting sentence in the body of that paragraph. Like that, there will be 3 paragraphs in the body. Now, if you have proven what you promised in the opening, or your thesis statement, which you did not articulate, but people now have understood that, has been proven in the body. Now, what do you do in conclusion? Actually, conclusion and the opening are almost the same. They are almost the same, but the conclusion is given in retrospect. Retrospect means afterwards. Now, think about some situation like this. Think about before doing an examination. Now, you face the countrywide advanced level examination. Before that, maybe just after your junior high school examination, O level examination, I ask you the question, how do you do A levels? Then you will, without knowing too much, give me a list of things that you can do. You have to study this book, that book, and so on. Now, this is like the opening and the body. But now, after you did your A levels, I ask you this question. Now you have been successful. How do you do A levels? Then you will open up saying A levels is this. You see, you will give your points in retrospect afterwards. So that has a lot of power. So this is what we do in conclusion. We re-establish what we said in the opening and give a take-home message so that people remember what we proved as a thesis in our speech. Okay. All right. So in the conclusion, convey the main points in a memorable manner. Leave a lasting impression. Suggest a course of action, if you like. Final remarks, a challenge, question, or anecdote, or a quotation that people would remember. Okay. So, in summary, what we discussed in this part is the need for providing an overview, starting with broad statements in the opening, which corresponds to the opening, and going into narrow details which actually is in the body, and once again broadening your speech in the conclusion. And we also spoke about the importance of transitions, having a proper structure, and so on. Thank you.